What if the harder you try to change your life, the more it resists you? What if the very act of trying, gripping, pushing, forcing is the reason nothing shifts? We have been taught that effort equals results, that control is power. But in the quantum world, that logic falls apart. Reality does not bend through force. It bends through coherence. And coherence begins the moment you stop gripping so tightly. The moment you let go, everything starts to move. You have been conditioned to believe that control is the answer. That if you can just manage every detail, predict every outcome, and stay 2 steps ahead, life will finally go your way. But what if that very control is the block? What if trying to manage every moment actually scrambles your frequency and keeps you stuck in the very timeline you are desperate to leave? The truth is the quantum field does not respond to pressure, it responds to presence. And presence begins when control ends. When you stop chasing outcomes and start embodying the state of already having, the shift begins, quietly, powerfully, instantly. Control is not clarity, it is tension. It is the illusion that if you grip harder, reality will finally obey. But control is born from fear, from survival instincts that once protected you but now keep you small. It shows up in subtle ways. You plan every detail to avoid discomfort. You micromanage others to feel safe. You script your future while secretly doubting it will arrive. And all the while, your nervous system is broadcasting a signal of mistrust to the field. You are saying, "I believe," but your body is saying, "I am bracing for disappointment." The quantum does not respond to your affirmations. It responds to your alignment. This is the trap. You believe you are manifesting, but you are actually signaling resistance. Trying harder is not a sign of power. It is a symptom of disconnection. And the more you try to control, the slower reality moves, because control creates friction. And in the quantum, friction is noise. Letting go is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the choice to trust your frequency more than your fear. Letting go is not the absence of desire, it is the release of desperation. It is the moment you stop chasing and start allowing. When you let go, you shift from doing to being, from effort to energy, from force to flow. Most people think letting go means abandoning their dreams, but it actually means embodying the version of you who no longer needs to chase them. It is stepping into the vibration of it, is already mine, and letting the field respond to that signal. Letting go is not passive. It is deeply active. It is a conscious decision to trust your alignment even when there is no evidence yet. It is regulating your breath when fear rises, choosing peace when your mind spins, and opening your heart even when it wants to close. Letting go is not collapsing, it is expanding. It is choosing clarity over control and faith over force. And in that moment, when your energy becomes clear, your reality begins to shift without warning, without struggle, instantly. There is a moment that comes when you finally exhale, when you stop gripping so tightly, when you stop needing reality to prove itself before you believe. And in that moment, something strange happens. Reality moves. What once felt stuck begins to flow. What once felt far suddenly feels close. This is the instant shift. It does not come from effort, it comes from surrender. It is not forced into place, it is allowed to unfold. Think about the times when something aligned effortlessly, the opportunity that arrived when you stopped looking, the message that came when you stopped obsessing, the clarity that dropped in when you stopped trying so hard. That was not luck, that was alignment. The quantum field is not withholding from you. It is simply waiting for your signal to become clear. And when you let go of control, you remove the static. You stop sending mixed messages and start broadcasting coherence. And coherence is what collapses timelines. It is the silent language of instant shift. The quantum field is not a force you manipulate. It is a mirror you interact with. It does not judge, it reflects. It responds to the frequency you emit, not the words you speak, not the steps you follow, not the goals you chase. Your thoughts, your emotions, your actions. They form a single broadcast, and that signal is what the field reads. When you are thinking one thing, feeling another, and doing something else entirely, your signal becomes fractured. The field cannot respond clearly because the message is distorted. But when you let go of control, your signal begins to harmonize, your thoughts soften, your body relaxes, your emotions settle into trust. And in that state of internal alignment, the field has no choice but to reflect that clarity back to you. This is not magic. It is resonance. Control creates tension, and tension disrupts coherence. Letting go creates harmony, and harmony amplifies your signal. That is how the field works. It responds to who you are, not what you want. Think back to a moment when something just worked out, a conversation that flowed perfectly, an opportunity that showed up without effort, a breakthrough that arrived when you were not trying to figure it out. What do all those moments have in common? You were not gripping. You were not controlling. You were open, aligned, available. That is not coincidence. That is the quantum field responding to clarity, not control. It mirrors your dominant frequency, not your desperate effort. When you relax into trust, when you embody ease, when you stop sending the signal of urgency, the field delivers effortlessly. It is like tuning into a station on the radio. The music was always there. You just had to align with the right frequency. This is the truth most people miss. Reality shifts instantly, not when you push harder, but when you finally stop pushing at all. Letting go sounds simple, but it feels unnatural. We have been conditioned to believe that struggle equals worth that effort, is how we prove we care, that control is how we stay safe. So when we are asked to surrender to trust, to allow, it feels like weakness, it feels like failure. But that discomfort is not a sign that you are doing it wrong. It is a sign that you are breaking free from an old program. The mind fears letting go because it cannot guarantee what comes next. But the soul knows that clarity cannot rise through chaos. Most people resist surrender because they mistake it for giving up. But letting go is not quitting. It is aligning. It is choosing to become the version of you who does not need to force, because they already are. It is trusting that the field is responsive, even when your eyes cannot yet see the shift. And that trust, that soft, quiet certainty, is what the field mirrors back in ways your logic could never predict. Letting go is not a one-time decision. It is a daily practice. It is something you return to again and again each time you notice yourself gripping again. It begins with awareness, with catching the moment your body tenses, your breath shortens, your mind starts spinning. That is the signal that you are shifting back into control. And in that moment, you pause, you breathe, you soften, you remind your system. I do not need to fight this. I can let go. It can be as simple as placing your hand on your heart and choosing trust over tension. Letting go is not about being perfect. It is about being present. It is not about pretending everything is fine. It is about being honest with what is and choosing not to spiral into fear. This is how you begin to shift from control to coherence, from noise to signal, from chaos to clarity. The practice is subtle but powerful, and with each repetition, your field begins to respond faster, more clearly, more effortlessly. Letting go is not something you only do in meditation or during a quiet moment. It is something you live in the small, ordinary choices that make up your day. When you spend money from trust instead of fear, you are letting go. When you speak honestly instead of pleasing others, you are letting go. When you rest without guilt, when you move your body with care, when you breathe through discomfort instead of reacting, you are letting go. These are not dramatic gestures. They are micro-alignments, signals to the field that say, I am ready, I am available, I am aligned. Embodiment means becoming the version of you who no longer needs to control every outcome because they are already resonating with the timeline they desire. It is walking through your day with the quiet confidence of someone who is no longer chasing. It is the energy of, I belong here, I trust this, I am already in motion. The quantum does not need perfection. It needs coherence, and coherence is built through these daily lived choices, where your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to hum in harmony. Even in the face of doubt, even in the absence of results, the practice continues. Because it is not about getting it, is about becoming. The real magic is not in the moment you let go, once it is in your ability to return again and again. Each time fear whispers you are behind, each time control creeps in, disguised as productivity. Each time the old pattern tries to pull you back, you have a choice. Will you grip tighter or will you soften? Will you chase or will you trust? This is where the shift becomes sustainable, not through constant effort, but through conscious return. You will wobble, you will forget, that is part of the process. The power is not in never slipping, it is in how quickly you come back. You breathe, you ground, you remember. And each time you return, your signal strengthens your field, sharpens your reality, begins to reshape with greater speed and ease. This is not about forcing a high vibration. It is about choosing alignment even in the middle of uncertainty. That choice, moment by moment, becomes your new baseline, your new frequency, your new reality. The shift is no longer something you visit. It becomes where you live. You do not shift alone. Your frequency is influenced by the field around you. Just as you shape your reality, your environment shapes you. Surround yourself with voices that reflect clarity, with people who embody calm, with spaces that invite presence. Energy is contagious. When you are around coherence, your system begins to mirror it. That is why community matters. That is why environment matters. Not just physically, but energetically. Curate what enters your mind, what surrounds your body, what speaks into your heart. Let your world become an ally to your alignment. Because when your external world reflects your internal signal, the shift becomes inevitable and unstoppable. Take a moment now and breathe. Tune in gently. Where in your life are you still gripping? Where are you trying to force an outcome, chase a timeline, control a path? What would happen if you softened by just 10%? If you stopped demanding answers and started trusting your signal, could you let go just enough to let something new in? This is not about abandoning your desires. It is about releasing the fear that blocks them. Letting go does not mean you stop moving. It means you start flowing. It means you remember that reality does not shift through control. It shifts through clarity, through coherence, through you. If something in you feels lighter, if a door quietly opened inside you, let it stay open. Let this be the moment you choose presence over pressure. Share in the comments. One word that captures what you are ready to let go of. Maybe it is control. Maybe it is fear. Maybe it is the need to figure it all out. And if this message resonated, if it stirred something true within you, subscribe. Join this space, this community, this field, where we remember together that we do not shift reality by chasing it. We shift it by becoming the version of ourselves who no longer needs to chase.